We can sort, and like for certain, like you as a director, you already see the big picture. Like whenever we were coming, Ben and I would lose our minds coming up with shit, and then you'd just be like, okay, here's what we actually need now. we can't just keep, like, you were like, oh, we need some characters to like round out this full roster. And then you went to the bathroom and came back, and we had like 4 other characters who were just as stupid.
Welcome. You are entering into a strange dimension. A dimension where narratives from across space and time come together. Narratives that could have, might have, or should have been all exist here in one space. This is CineCasters Ultimate Timeline.
Hello, welcome to CineCasters. My name is Nate Draper, and I'm joined, as always, by my very good friend, the handsome Andrew DeYoung.
Oh, what's going on, guys? And you are also handsome. Just want to throw that back out there.
Oh, thank you. Aw.
Yeah. So it's been only a month, I guess. Actually, we only missed a month this time.
Has it? I think it's been a little bit more than that.
Well, not since we posted.
Roughly.
I think the last episode we posted was Venom, and that one came out just at the end of January. So for you and I, it's been longer, but if you've been listening, it hasn't been that long.
For our audience,
for our 3 audience members, I saw
all 3 of you.
I saw that you had tagged the Scoopa Poop remix.
Oh, did I?
I think that was you. Somebody like put a tag in a comment.
Oh, that was probably me. Yeah, because I wanted people to listen to that.
I think I've actually heard the song that it was based on now. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I think our remix is better.
Oh, I think it's way better.
Way better.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's better in 2 ways. One, I mean, our production isn't quite as good, but I think it's better because because it's just a better song. Like, our version's a better song. And also because we're taking the piss. So, like, we have layers of meta.
Oh, yes.
But, yeah.
Yes, that works for me.
Yeah. So,
Anyway, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. And we're doing Dinosaur, which is hilarious because when we did Jurassic Park 2, I called it Dinosaurs the Sequel. And now we're doing actual Dinosaur, but it's not Jurassic Park 1. We're doing the 2001?
Yep.
2000?
2000, yeah.
2000 animated movie, Disney, Pixar animated, or not Pixar, whatever.
It's not Pixar, just Disney.
Yeah, Disney CG animated movie, Dinosaur, from 2000. And what'd you think?
I didn't hate it.
That's about as far as I got.
Yeah. You know what? So some of the movies that we do, I actually do skip through parts of them because I go, ugh, yeah. I try my best to watch them, but I'll admit some of them I don't watch all of them.
The only movie that I really was like, I fucking really want to skip this was Transformers.
I did skip a lot of that.
I didn't skip any of Transformers, and that's 3 hours of my life I'm never going to get back. It's so long. This movie is not terrible, straight off the bat. Yeah.
Like, I will say, there were parts where I genuinely felt what the characters were feeling in some parts. Like, when they get to that big watering hole and it's not there, I was like, oh, no.
Oh, yeah, the despair was real there.
Yeah. Like, there's some things in it that do work. It's not terrible. Like, I was able to sit and watch it. I don't know if I was able to I couldn't say I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's deeply flawed.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, it's not the worst
watchable.
Movie we've watched, yeah.
No, definitely not. Yeah. That's kind of my overall feeling of it.
I thought I have maybe 4 points, which is unusual. Usually I have way more points than that. But my 3 main points were, I thought that it took too long to get into the actual plot.
Okay.
Like, it was 15 minutes before the asteroids start to fall.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know. Like, I know you want to have your big intro where you can see, like, all the different kinds of dinosaurs, and they have the egg traveling through. But I was like, this is absurd. Like, it's super unnecessary. Like, I want to see all the dinosaurs come in and see them interact with the characters a bit more. Like, I get you're trying to show off, oh, we are in the dinosaurs. And that's fine. But I thought that was too long. Get to the plot. And then I actually have 2... good notes. These are actually good notes. I don't have that many bad. The Carnotaurs like the T-Rex knockoffs, but they are actually dinosaurs called Carnotaurs. They were super scary. Like, I felt...
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that's scary. And particularly one moment when they're about to, like, turn around instead of go up the rock fall to get into the nesting grounds. And they're just, like, in the desert cave, and you just hear the roar, like, echo through the canyon. I was like, that is so terrifying. Because, like, all you hear is the echo of the Carnotaur's roar. And I almost wish the Carnotaur hadn't showed up right after. Because I think it was just, like, more scary being like, it's out there. We all heard it, but we don't know where. And I think that's so spooky. And then my last comment, which isn't a negative or a positive, is just that this is basically just Land Before Time, but by Disney.
Yeah, it was. I think I made a note about that somewhere too, because I was actually comparing it a lot to Land Before Time as well.
It's just CG Land Before
very
Time.
Much.
Yeah,
it's very much the same movie in a lot of respects.
I thought the CG for the characters, like their facial dynamics and whatnot, was a little strange at times. There was a couple times where we were doing close-ups of their faces, and I was like, get it out of my face.
I agree. I made a note of that exact same thing. Yeah, I was like, "Is this just me?" It kind of bugs me, some of it.
Yeah. But I do think that this movie's kind of important, because I bet you we wouldn't have movies like the new Lion King or even Avatar, like 2009 or 10's Avatar, without a movie like this. Yeah,
I mean, it was trying to push some of the technology forward, I'm going to assume.
Yeah, and I will say that I thought all the voice acting was really well done, and I do think that the CG animation for the backgrounds, like the landscapes, was gorgeous.
I agree. Like it some of it looked really good. I made a note. I didn't like the animation, but specifically the character animation. I did feel some of it. It looked. I didn't buy it.
It was almost like it was like a vaudevillian. That they had gone over the top with every expression on their faces, particularly during the close-ups, because they were trying to like make up for the fact that they were trying to like overcome CG. But like I think the first rule of animation, if you're trying to go for quote unquote realism, is that you should be able to use subtle animation or subtle changes in expression. Because like humans we're designed to pick up those kinds of facial patterns, and so just slight change in an eyebrow twitch, can mean the world in terms of emotional expressivity without actually even having to say anything.
Yeah, that is definitely one thing. If you look at Pixar films, one thing that they actually, in terms of the character animation, that they do very well, and they spend a lot of time trying to figure out those subtleties to communicate those things in a way that's not overt, so that you get it, but it's also there's a subtlety to it.
It's a subtlety to it. Like you can, a character. I've been watching anime, and in the best anime, you can. It's not just like big eyes and like curved in eyebrows that show like anger. It's like in the best anime, particularly ones that aren't action oriented but more drama oriented. Like the subtlety in how you draw someone's facial expressions makes the difference between a good anime with a compelling story and a fantastic anime with a compelling story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say in terms of like things that bothered me about this movie. And there was way too many characters.
Yeah, I do think that was a shortfall. One thing I really liked the music, but it's James Newton Howard, so that's just sort of a given, I suppose. Yeah. There were a few notes that I made specifically that I felt were problematic in terms of story. One was I felt the characters were just flat. They kind of hit one note.
Yeah, like every character hits one note. That's why I think your point and my point like are interchangeable. It's we have so many characters that instead of having 3-dimensional characters, but only have 5 that really stand out, we have characters are introduced left, right, and center right up until almost halfway through the movie, and they you're the old one, you're the polite one, you're the lady killer, you're the cute one, you're the mom, you're the dad, you're the main character hero, you're the love interest.
Yeah, exactly. They all hit kind of one note. The other thing that I noted was the meteor bears actually really doesn't affect things too much. It has actually remarkably little consequence in terms of what actually happens. It literally just gets them off the island. And it's implied that this watering hole dried up maybe because of the meteor, but in reality, it's not really something we know. I'm not sure if it's meant to be the meteor that brought the dinosaurs to extinction. I don't think it is.
I'm just
thinking as an audience, we as the audience are aware that is what happened to them. So I just thought it was I personally thought it was a weird plot device.
Yeah, I almost feel like you could have replaced it. I mean, in narrative structure, that's just called the inciting incident, right?
Exactly.
You have your introduction where you introduce all your characters, and then you have your inciting incident, what sets them off on their quote-unquote adventure, whatever that adventure may be. I can't remember what Dan Harmon calls it in his story structure, but he calls it like the character wants or needs something, and so they go out to get it. Like I know his story structure is loosely based, well, not loosely, but very closely based on like the hero's journey.
Right. The Joseph Campbell.
Yeah, the Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. Or the epic myth or the mono myth and eventually I know that it's closely related, but like Dan Harmon boils his down to like plot structure specifically as opposed to myth structure. But what is that's the inciting incident, but I almost feel like it could have been replaced with any other inciting incident. Like it literally could have been
that's what I mean.
You could have done famine or a volcano or a flood, like any other natural disaster. I guess it didn't even have to be a natural disaster. They literally could have just been like kick them out for whatever reason.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I feel like just with the meteor, it's a misleading thing. Yeah, because
we're primed.
There's greater implications for it.
Yeah, as an audience member, even as a young child, everyone pretty much knows that the dinosaurs were wiped out by a cataclysmic event. That's the crater. You know what I mean? The KT barrier or whatever they're calling it nowadays. But we are primed for that. So when you show that, although if you think about it, can you imagine if it was like, and also they do make like a lot of allegory in its visuals to the atomic bomb.
Right. That is interesting.
And so if you're aware of like that kind of coding and that kind of information, then the dropping of that meteor looks like the way we see atomic bombs, and so there's some information coded in that. And I know that a lot of explosions look that way, the big fireball, there's a reason for that, that's how physics reacts, but like if you're going to show it that way, then there's information coded in that. But I do think it would be kind of funny if they were just like, oh, let's just drop the meteor, 15 minutes into the movie it explodes and that's the extinction, end of movie.
Yeah. That would have been great.
Yeah. I actually dealt a little bit more with the meteor and what the implications of that are.
I did too.
Yeah.
And there's one more note that I had, and it's one of the other issues I think is, so the movie starts off with, he's a dinosaur with mammals.
Yeah.
Usually what you would get in a story with that is some sort of identity conflict.
They don't really do much with that.
They don't really do much with that. And the thing is, the reason it doesn't work, in my opinion, is because, first of all, he doesn't really question it. There's the whole thing of like, oh, you need another dinosaur.
You need to find a female dinosaur because that's what they exist for. To be fair to this movie, that is pretty much what she exists for.
Well, that was that was when I say that, characters who are, hit one note. She doesn't, she has
one note.
That character fits into that category too, unfortunately. But in the case of the identity crisis, there was no crisis. And then later when they go and they sort of join in with this other herd, it's too easy. He adjusts to being with other dinosaurs like him way too easily. So the movie sets itself up to be a movie about identity, and then it's not. Yeah. It doesn't really do that.
Yeah, I actually had a moment. I had a moment in there just speaking about identity, because I do think there's you could play that up, but the movie doesn't really do that. I did have a moment in there when they were having the sort of, what's his name, the comic relief lemur.
Zini, I think.
when they were having him sort of like striking out with all the ladies, and then having like Aladar not have any ladies, I was like, if they wanted to do something really interesting here and talk a bit more about identity, like identity of fitting in and finding family, they could put the two of them in like a pseudo homosexual relationship, or even a straight up coded or straight up actual homosexual relationship, just to be like, hey, what is identity? What does it mean to fit in, and how do you find someone that connects, right?
Right.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
I thought about it. I was just like, oh, that would be an interesting way to take this, but the movie doesn't really deal with identity at all, so I didn't wind up writing that script.
Yeah, I didn't either. The one thing that I explored in my version, the theme that came up that I actually thought was interesting, and it is touched on, and it's sort of reflected in two bits. In one case, they talk about fate. And I thought, well, that's interesting, because we know the fate of the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole other thing with one of the characters about being, it's like only the strong survive.
Yeah.
And I thought there was an interesting connection between
Oh, man, I did the
concepts.
exact same thing.
Okay, well, why don't we get into pitches then? Because I feel like...
Because I did the same thing. I was like, oh, I did the exact same thing. We know what happens to the dinosaurs. But I focused more on, like, not fate, but, like... I guess you could call it fatalism, like almost like existentialism in terms of why we're alive, but without going in like off the deep end of like, you know, like let's talk about Nietzschean or Kierkegaardian existentialism. Mine was more like I wanted to keep it a kids movie.
Okay, yeah, and I tried to do that too. Yeah,
yeah. Mine is a kids movie with a deeper meaning.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah. Who do you want to start? Or
go for it.
Okay, I'll go for it. Okay. So as I said, I wanted to keep mine a kids movie with a deeper meaning. So mine actually is about see if you can guess the theme, sort of. So
okay.
The first thing I want to do is just some housekeeping. So I'm going to get rid of that 7-minute long dinosaur beginning where they have like the eggs and all the different dinosaurs. And I just thought that was, I know, like they do that in almost every Disney movie where the animators are like, look what we can do. And like in some movies it really works, and in some movies it doesn't. I don't think it works in this movie. Movies that it does work in is in Finding Nemo, when they're like when their teacher, the manta ray man, is like whatever his name is, Mr. Ray, is like taking them around the reef. And you can sort of see like the animators are like, look at how great we are with water graphics. Look how the reef, you know what I mean? And you can they're sort of like giving you that nudge in the ribs, like, oh hey, look how good this and it's great. It works there because you're like, oh shit, like there's a whole society in this reef, and it's a safe place, a society. And then when we get to the ocean feels empty. And so that works, right? Especially when they go and touch the boat or slash the butt. Yeah. The ocean feel like it just drops off, and it's like that feels empty. And we can see sort of why. What's his name?
Marlin.
Yeah, Marlin. We can see sort of why Marlin is like, don't go to the drop off because it's scary. And the other one that it really works is in WALL-E, when they do that whole outer space thing, and WALL-E has like the what do we call that? The fire extinguisher.
Oh, yeah.
And the entire thing is silent because there's no sound in space. So it's just orchestrated by music. And like we see like this beautiful interaction, almost a dance, a ballet between Eve and WALL-E. And it's just, I think that's so gorgeous. Like it works. But it doesn't work in this movie, so don't do it. So then we have the character introductions, like still with Aladar coming out of the egg, and we can introduce all the characters that way. But maybe we could like not have so many, or focus on Pleo and Yar, and Suri, because those are the ones that I think are actually really important. Specifically, Suri in mine is really important. She's the young lemur. So then we have when the asteroid happens, and they all have to leave the island, and they wind up making it away. And we have that scene where they're all staring out across the ocean, and they're like, oh, like, we're so sad because our island is burning and whatnot in the fire. And then we can have Suri, the little lemur, ask, like, why did all of our friends die, and why did we survive? Like why, how come we survived and everybody else is dead? And nobody really knows how to answer her. So then, you know, everything works.
The movie's already way more interesting.
So then, oh, thank you. So then we everything happens pretty much the same way. So they meet up with the other dinosaurs, and we can introduce the Brachiosaurus and the I don't think it's a Triceratops. I should have written down what kind of dinosaur she is. Oh, it's a
you're more aware.
Okay, we'll call her a Triceratops, but she's definitely not. Like she is some subspecies of Triceratops. Whatever. For the sake of ease, we'll call her the Triceratops. Her name is Ema, and we'll have them walking, but in the desert when they get to the lake, or even before the lake or whatever, we can actually have. I'm not even sure. Actually, I would have the lake scene. Instead, what I would do is like, there's no water there. And we actually, like, Ema dies of exhaustion, like, actually dies. And everyone's sad, and she didn't make it. And, Brutus and Crone keep pushing them further. And so, Ema doesn't make it. She dies of old age and of exhaustion. And again, everyone's left sort of, like, super sad about it. So then there's the scene where Bruton gets attacked by the Carnotaur. And then Aladar's like, hey, if you want to join us in the cave, come join us in the cave. And it's all rainy outside. And Bruton comes in, and he's like, oh, I kind of see how you're doing it, but I know I'm just going to die here. Like, so then the whole thing plays out where Bruton's like, look, I'm already hurt. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'll hold the Carnotaurs off, and you guys get out. The rock wall collapses, just like it does in the movie. But we have it collapses, and we see Aladar dig out the rock wall. And he sees Bruton, and instead of just having him be like, no, he screams out, why? Why does this happen? Like, why did he have to die? We could have saved him. And on the other side of the rock wall, we hear an answer. And it's the Carnotaur.
Oh, interesting.
And she says she doesn't want to die either. And that means that she has to eat someone. So someone has to die, and she would rather not it be her. She wants to live, which means somebody has to die. Otherwise, she'll die. Right. And so that gives something for Aladar to chew on. Now he's like, oh, that's...
Chew on, no pun intended.
No pun intended, yeah. So then Aladar goes, that we have the whole thing. They make it through the rock wall on the other side, and they're into the nesting grounds. And it's gorgeous and beautiful, and everybody is there. So then they realize that the valley is caved in. The way that they used to get in is caved in, and they won't be able to make it. And Aladar goes, no, we have to go back, and we have to save them. And so he runs back to save them. And most of that will play out the same way, except Crone and Aladar fight on top of the rock pile. And Aladar's like, look, I don't want to fight you. Like, we all can make it out. There's a way to get around. And Crone is like, no, the Carnotaur is going to find us. We need to make it over the... And Aladar's like you if you keep pushing, people are going to die. It's just going to happen. Then Crone slips, and he falls and dies anyway. Nira, Crone's brother, sees this, and she starts to give up. She gives into despair. There's no way they can make it. And Aladar says, there is a way, but they'll have to hurry to make sure they can sneak around the Carnotaur. And then we can get that awesome roar throughout the canyon, but we never see it. Like, it's just like, oh, we know it's out there. So so then the sort of the big epic moment is actually Aladar and Nira trying to get all the weaker dinosaurs or the rest of the herd basically sneaking through the valley back to this cave to get them into the nesting grounds. So they finally manage to do that. They get them all into the nesting grounds. Nira says, like, if there's really no point, they're gonna die anyway. Aladar explains that the Carnotaur is just looking for food. She just wants to survive just as best as the rest of us. And just because everyone will die eventually doesn't mean that we should make it harder for each other now, and doesn't mean that we should just lay down and let life pass us by, even if we know we're going to die. Knowing there's an end doesn't means that we should make the most out of life, not that we should make it lesser for each other. And what do we owe each other? What do we owe ourselves? That's what makes life so sweet, is that we know it comes to an end. There is an expiration date. So he helps the remaining dinosaurs get past the Carnotaur, and then he thinks he gets all of them into the valley, and he's like, wow, I can finally rest. It's been hard work. And he hears a cry for help. And he's like, oh no, I must have missed someone. So he heads back out of the cave, and he sees the Carnotaur is dying of hunger and thirst. And she was the one who yelled for help. And so he's like, oh, well, what am I supposed to do here? And so he decides he knows he can't lead her to the nesting grounds because she'll just kill everyone, but he's like, I got to do something. So he finds another river and leads her to the river. away from the nesting grounds. And while drinking, she is like, I don't understand why you would do this. I'm just going to kill you when I'm stronger, and I'll probably just wind up killing others like you. So like he says, yeah, my time will come, and eventually so will yours. But today is not that day. And if there's something that I can do to make somebody else's life, better for just one day, then that's the right thing to do. And then he leaves her to go back to the nesting ground. So then we can have the last scene I want to have is still the epilogue where there's new babies, but this time there's the voiceover, and it's about, why would you bring someone new life into a world that only is going to have them die eventually? And it's like, because, life is about the journey. It's about being better. It's about making it better for others, even though we all know we're going to die anyway. Right? And that way we bring it back into the whole theme, which is, we see the meteor at the beginning and we know they're all going to die. So the theme is basically around like, still being a kid's movie, but like, what do you do when you know you're going to die? So if a kid, the idea is like when a child watches this movie, they're like, yeah, everyone's going to die. Like, all the other lemurs died, and Ema passed away, and, Crone even died, but Crone didn't have a good life because he was so busy trying to push, or wait for something better, whereas Aladar has a good life because he works with other people. He wants other people. He always tries to make life today is going to be better than yesterday for someone, right? Including the Carnotaur. So, I don't know. That's my
Whoa.
pitch.
I like it.
Yeah.
There's a lot there, especially for a film that's geared for children. That's some pretty heavy subject matter.
I know.
Well, I like that.
That's why I didn't go super, super deep into like the existentialism. Like I didn't want to like be like, oh, let's talk about Sisyphus, or let's talk about Nietzsche or Kierkegaard. Like I was just like, let's just look at like, for a kid, how philosophical can we be? And so that's why I have like the really the theme of the asteroid falling, I think, is a primer, because anyone knows that's how the dinosaurs are going to die. So now what you've done is, instead of having that be an actual incident for the dinosaurs, which it's still the inciting incident, what it is more of a thematic primer for the audience.
Right.
And then we have Ema die in the desert. And then we have Crone die. And we constantly have, not death happening all the time, but like these characters are dying. And death is not something new for children watching animated movies. The Lion King has people die. I mean, I'm still reeling over the fact that Mufasa died. Like, I have PTSD. But like, this is not something new, but oftentimes we talk about grief in those movies. Like that's the reason Simba leaves, partially is because he feels like his dad's death was his responsibility. So we have we do deal with grief and responsibility and sadness and even depression. Not necessarily around death, but in Inside Out we deal with depression. But I want to talk how can we put existentialism in terms of death in terms that kids can understand. So that was my pitch. Yeah,
I like it. Yeah, it's really good. Mine is actually very different.
Oh, really? I think it's funny that we went to similar parts, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm excited to talk more about my pitch, but I want to hear yours. So go.
Okay. So mine, I switched it so Nira is the main character.
I hate it when you do that. I hate it when you do that, because you're always like, I'm going to switch main characters, and immediately I go, oh, now the movie is so different and it's better than mine. But I don't know. This pitch was pretty good for me.
I liked the bit with the Carnotaur in yours. Mine, there's still just a thing that's there. But I liked that element.
I just didn't like how it was because they did the same thing in The Land Before Time.
Right.
I mean, later in some of the later movies, I know those don't really count because there's a million of them. But in some of the later movies, they actually show the sharp tooth being actual characters. But to me, the Carnotaur just felt like it was this driving force. Same with the Compsognathus, which is the little dinosaurs. I was like, what if we gave them some character? And I actually didn't want the Compsognathus in there. I thought what if there were the thing that was driving them was the existential dread of dying.
Exactly.
You either keep up with the rest of the herd or you die of exhaustion, which is exactly what happens to Ema. We don't need the Compsognathus.
No, I thought you handled that really well. Yeah, because I that was one thing that occurred to me while watching it. It was how come all the other dinosaurs can talk, but should not the logic also be that they can talk to, maybe.
Yeah. I think that scene with the rock wall, like when Aladar does, the classic like why, and then have someone respond and have it be the Carnotaur, all of a sudden be like, oh, like it's a living, breathing, three-dimensional character. That now we have to reckon with the fact that the thing that was the spooky monster is now also a living, breathing creature.
It's scared too.
Yeah, it's scared of existential death as well, right?
Yeah, no, I liked that. That was a good addition. So in mine, okay, so in Nira, she's born and she has a younger sister, but she's slightly older, and she's her parents tell her, because you're the older one, you have to look after your sister. Anyway, one day they're playing, and she like leads her off into the jungle or something where they're not supposed to go, and they end up stumbling upon a T-Rex. I actually didn't know Carnotaurus. I just Googled it.
Carnotaurus. Yeah.
I thought they made it up.
No, all of the dinosaurs in the movie are actual dinosaurs.
Okay, interesting. Okay, well, in my version, it's a T-Rex, but whatever.
Yeah.
Some giant carnivore. So she's playing with her sister. They go into the jungle. They get the attention of this giant carnivore, and the carnivore attacks them. And her parents jump in the way to protect both of them, and both of her parents are killed. And she loses her sister in the mess. Anyway, so she's lost her family, and so it's
just so her sister's dead and both her parents are dead.
Well, we don't know her sister is dead. She's just gone.
Oh, okay, but her parents are for sure dead.
Her parents are for sure dead,
yeah.
And we're to assume that maybe her sister was eaten.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's now alone, but she's taken in by an older dinosaur. There's a whole bunch of other dinosaurs who are like, they don't want to take her in because they feel like, oh, she was reckless and her family got killed.
Yeah.
But this older dinosaur says like, no, I'm going to look after her. Like, we can't let this little dinosaur go on her own. Like, she's helpless without some help. And then this dinosaur becomes a model for like looking like our responsibility to others who in this case who are weaker than themselves. Mm-hmm. Anyway, years pass and she's grown up, and a meteor strikes. I haven't decided in my version if it is actually the meteor, and this is like the final weeks of the dinosaurs, or if it's just a meteor that has some pretty big impact. But anyway, there's a meteor that strikes, and they have to flee. They have to flee where they are. And in the fallout, like, they're really struggling to find food, and the older dinosaur that was her adopted parent dies in the process. And again, Nira feels responsible because she wasn't able to help this person who was looking after her. Anyway, she's now wandering on her own, and she's struggling to find food, and she's ready to give up when she finds this herd of wandering dinosaurs. And at first, there are some dinosaurs that are like the leaders of the group that are like, we already have enough people in our group. We can't take any more. Like, you're on your own. Sorry, but we can't feed you.
Can't wear pink on Wednesdays.
Yeah. Anyway, but she sees some dinosaurs in the rear that are struggling, and they get lost. And so she says, "Here, I can help you. I can help you find the group. I can go with you, and I can help you find the other dinosaurs, and I'll make sure that you don't die." So they follow with her. They follow her, and then they catch up with the rest of the herd. And when they get there, she's again confronted by the dinosaurs. I took Bruton. Bruton's part of this group, and Bruton says that, okay, like, thank you for finding these people, but you're not, like, sorry, we're full. You can't come with us. There's another dinosaur that comes forward named, it's Pleo. I took the name from one of the lemurs.
Yeah.
But Pleo, and Pleo recognizes Nira, and it turns out that's actually her sister.
Oh, damn!
That she lost as a kid. So Pleo's like, oh, this is my sister, and she introduces, and then she's like, okay, no, you are coming with us. So she introduces them to Bruton and to Aladar, who is Aladar is now Pleo's brother, or adopted brother.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Nira, Aladar, and Pleo, like, they're all part of this herd. They become like a family. Nira, like, and this is sort of like a passage of time. Nira takes on more responsibility, leading some of the group. But as they continue on, Nira notices that Pleo is tough on some of the the members of the group that straggle and fall behind. And Pleo says, like, only the strong will survive. We cannot pander to the weak, because if we do, we will also put ourselves at risk. The only way we can help the other people in the herd is by first helping ourselves. And I know this is harsh, but in order for the better good of the herd, some are just going to have to fall behind and become food for the carnivores. Otherwise, and this is the best way to preserve the group. And Nira isn't entirely sure she agrees with this, but she continues to help out as best she can. Anyway, later, they're continuing to move forward. They're basically like just wandering around trying to find food because food is becoming scarce. Anyway, at one point, they're attacked by carnivores, and Pleo says, Nira's like, I've got to go back and protect the people at the back. And Pleo says, no, don't. You're just going to get yourself killed, and you're going to slow us all down. Don't do it. But Nira goes back anyway to defend those that have fallen behind. And Aladar goes back to rescue her. And in his attempt to rescue her, he gets killed. And Pleo is angry at Nira because she thinks Nira is now responsible. She holds Nira responsible for Aladar trying to protect her.
Cycles,
and she says,
cycles upon cycles.
Exactly. She says, Nira, you're not allowed, like, go. You're slowing, like, you're not helping, and my brother is now dead, so go.
You did this.
Exactly. So Nira, feeling guilty about Aladar's death, leaves, but some of the dinosaurs that she protected go with her because they feel safer with her. And Nira tries to convince him, like, no, don't go with me. Like, you're just gonna, I can't help anybody. I seem to be incapable of saving other dinosaurs. And they go, no, but we feel safe with you. And at this point in the story, like, it's clear that the dinosaurs are all collectively struggling to survive. And then they start asking this question about, like Nira asked the question of, like, well, like, what point is there? Like, it just seems like it's just this, we're just struggling and it's just getting worse. And I can't make it better for anybody. And then Ema, in this case, she says, well, I would rather die with my family than survive alone in paradise. Yeah. And she basically says, like, look, there is still hope. We have each other. And so Nira says, okay, well, let's go on. I know of Nira, because Nira is actually very familiar with the geography. And she's like, I actually know a place that we can go to. And so she takes her new small group of dinosaurs there. As they're traveling, they encounter a group of dinosaurs that have actually left, that are wandering. And they say that we just came across this massive herd, and what they describe was the herd that was being led by Pleo. And they say that this herd is going to some other big jungle or whatever where there's supposed to be food. But Nira knows that where they're going, there's nothing, because that's where she originally fled from.
Yeah, that's where she came
from. That was
at
the beginning. And she's like, they're just going. There's going to be nothing there, and they're all going to have wandered there, and they're all just going to go into the desert and die. And she now feels like, oh, I have to go tell them, but I can't leave my friends here. Like, I can't abandon my friends. Yeah. Like, what do I do? And then her friends are like, we'll go with you. Like, I mean, yeah, we want to go and we want to survive, but we'll go with you. Like, and this is the right thing to do. And so Nira knows that there's another way she can go that will basically beat Pleo and her group, or meet Pleo's group on the way. So they catch up with Pleo, and by the time they've reached Pleo, all the other dinosaurs are fed up, and they're like, there's nothing here. Like, you're just leading us to death. And when Nira shows up, she tries to convince Pleo, like, Pleo, you're leading all of these other dinosaurs to just death. And Pleo doesn't want to listen to her, and Pleo's like, no, I'm going this way. And all the other dinosaurs decide they're going to go with Nira instead.
Yeah.
So Pleo, the rest of the dinosaurs follow with Nira, and she takes them to this other place. Pleo goes off on her own. As Nira's leading the group to this place, there's they get attacked by carnivores, and it's at this point that Pleo has changed her mind, and Pleo actually shows up and stops the dinosaurs, and then joins with the group, and then they head off towards this paradise, or this feeding ground together, and that's where the movie ends.
Yeah. I can't remember. The only thing I could think, what was it called in The Land Before Time? Do they call it the Great Valley?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, motherfucking tree stars.
Yeah.
It's like weed.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, in my version, it's sort of like it's more the relationship with her and the sister, and then the whole question of. I also went with that concept of what do we owe each other?
What do we owe each other? But I honestly think there's like a middle ground between our two pitches. Like we're both dealing a lot with like what does it mean to die, and like family being like, oh, I'd rather die alone. I'd rather die with my family. I'd rather die alone. I'd rather die with my family than die alone. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was good. I do think, as always, because I never think about this when I'm writing my pitches because I tend to be focused on narrative. But I do think like your pitch passes the Bechdel test.
Oh,
like all of your main characters. Yeah,
I guess it does.
All of your main characters besides Aladar are female. Like every character you mentioned besides Aladar is female, and the older dinosaur who becomes Nira's mentor. I don't know if you had written that for a specific gender.
I basically took Ema. I just imagined Ema as the character.
As that character, yeah. Okay, yeah. So then,
the Triceratops. Yeah.
Every character you basically have there is female mostly. So only Aladar isn't. And I never think about that, but like you wind up with roughly the same message as mine.
Yeah.
The only difference I think is there's something that I noticed in your pitch was that there's a lot of blame being passed around, and I wonder like is particularly with Pleo and Nira, and I wonder like is the stuff or is the stuff happening or that happens to others while Nira is around, is it directly her fault or is it always a bit more ambiguous?
It's a little more
ambiguous.
I mean, it is sort of indirect. I mean, she does. It's a lot of she blames herself for it. So like her parents dying, it's because she led her sister into the jungle.
Yeah.
In the case of Aladar being killed, it's she went back to rescue other dinosaurs and she succeeded, but then Aladar had to rescue her.
Okay.
And then him dying to save her. And she goes, well, he didn't have to do that, but if I hadn't got myself in that position, he'd still be alive.
Yeah.
But then Pleo's angry at her and goes, this is the same thing that happened when we were kids, and,
Yeah. It's been like how many years and you still haven't grown up or whatever? Yeah.
Exactly. But Pleo has this Pleo in its interim has built this philosophy of like, no, like we have to look after ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you go back to look after somebody else, that's a mistake. And then in the end, the idea is that Pleo's changed and she's gone like, no, actually, I have to go and rescue the other all my friends because otherwise they're gonna die.
Yeah. Yep. And then crap. I had it and then I just lost it. Well, either way, I like our pitches better.
I like our pictures better than the movie too. The other angle I tried to work in subtly is the whole notion of like, oh, the world is ending. Like like where they are, it's clear things are getting more difficult.
Yeah.
And that question of like, if the end of the world is coming, what do we do with that? What does that do with our idea of responsibility and looking after ourselves?
Yeah, I had to do the same. I tried to do the same thing with mine, but I tried to leave mine a little bit more ambiguous. Like you're clearly showing, like you could even show in your pitch how like like when they talk about the herd, or every time they meet up or re-meet up with the big herd that Pleo and Aladar are leading, you could have it be like, now there's more dinosaurs. Or maybe now things are just worse. Like you could show it in the scenery, like life is on the earth is dying or becoming more toxic. Whereas in my pitch, I tried to have mine be like, okay, we know that like the meteor is what kills, but again, mine was more of a thematic primer. Whether or not that was the asteroid that's killing them is more up for interpretation. Mine was never going to be shown through like environmental conditioning. It was more about like the existential, dread that death is always creeping up on you in whatever form, whether that be extinction or starvation or predator.
Right. Yeah. And the one thing I thought about with mine was actually having that meteor be the meteor that ended the dinosaurs, because there was some speculation as to how long between the collision and how long before they
it would have
died.
depended on how close you are, right? Like a meteor of the estimated size would have been huge, right? So we're talking like mass flooding and like tsunamis, as well as the reaction of actually just the meteor hitting, right? And then after that, if you're not close to the meteor, you're dealing with, massive climate change, volcanic activity, seismic shifting, which then leads to famine and like this could happen drastically. But if you were next to if you were as close to a meteor as it depicts, like a meteor that caused the extinction, as it depicts in the movie, like they would have been wiped out immediately.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But if you were farther away, you could show it like and have it be like, oh, that's super cool, like make it look super pretty. You know what I mean? And then
things start to change.
And then things slowly start to change, like be like, oh, we saw it like land, and then it it hit the earth, and maybe then all of a sudden like the first thing that would happen would be like, a day later a tsunami, and then flooding, and then famine, and then climate change, and then
And that's the way I would do it. Plus there was the other thing about how it actually kicked a lot of debris into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking from a visual standpoint that would be a really interesting way. You'd get this really interesting lighting from that too.
Yeah, you could do some really cool storytelling just through like environmental scenery and weather.
Exactly, and that was sort of the way I was thinking it would actually be approached. Was you would do it so it actually takes place like they're far away enough from it where maybe they can see it in the distance, but they don't get the immediate impact from it. But they see things starting to change. The weather starts to change, and visually it becomes more nightmarish.
Ooh, I'm going to steal that for my pitch too, because like I think it works for both our pitches, especially if you never say it. If you never explicitly say that, like, oh, the weather's changing. It just is sort of like implied through the storytelling. So like if you're clever and you're paying attention, you can see like the weather is changing, the setting is changing, but like never have any of your characters like openly address it or why it's happening. Like just sort of have it be like, setting storytelling, environmental storytelling. Exactly. I think that works really, really well. I remember what my other thing was. I kept it in mind because I thought it worked with the theme of having Aladar and Nira actually like get together. But in yours, Nira and Pleo, as far as we can tell, neither of them have a love interest. Like it's not what they're about. And I kept it in mind, like because I thought the idea of like rebirth, like bringing people into, bringing new life can be into a world if only you're gonna die, it fits the theme.
It does, yeah. No, it was a good thematic complement for where you were going. Yeah. Aladar is really just a plot device.
Yeah, I honestly think like he really. Well, like for you, he was just a plot device, sort of.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the way I would see him, he would actually have more to contribute. In terms
it's hard to like sit down and be like, hey, let me flesh out all these characters for you. Like we're literally just giving like prolonged elevator pitches.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and because I'd like to imagine that all of my characters are diverse and three-dimensional.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I've been operating under that assumption. That's what you have in mind.
Yeah, I figured. Like, they're not... see, now I have this image in my head, because I was about to say, not all my characters are like cardboard cutouts, but now I have this picture in my head of me just like with a bunch of cardboard cutout dinosaurs, like moving them around. You know what I mean? Like and then like me running between them, being like, and then Aladar would just like, and then like pick him up and be like, and then he would do like, roar, the Carnotaur, and I'd run over to the Carnotaur and be like, roar, you know what I mean? Like just outside in the middle of nowhere with all these cardboard cutout figures.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I kind of want to film that now, just for like stupidity, but yeah. But I think that's all I really have to say about Dinosaur. This was not a movie that I really remember.
No, me neither.
The fact that it's on our list, it wasn't. It was CineMasters worthy. It definitely needed an overhaul, but it wasn't one of the worst movies we've ever done. It wasn't like when I sat down, it wasn't like, oh my god, this is a travesty. But it also wasn't a movie like Atlantis, where you're like, this movie could have been amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like this movie was just mediocre, and as proud as I am of my pitch, and as cool as I think your pitch is, I don't think this is like one of the movies that's going to be like such missed potential. Like, it just is kind of there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why I had such a hard time with it too, because I was going, it just seems so bland. Like
it's. I mean, I'd rather watch Land Before Time.
Yeah. It just felt really bland.
Land Before Time has music in it too, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, Land Before Time's a really beautiful movie.
It's not Disney. It's Don Bluth.
Exactly, it's Don Bluth, so you get very expressive mouths.
Yeah. And I kind of like even the primary colors of the dinosaurs. Like, it makes them distinguishable. Like, you can tell in the Land Before Time, you can tell each character has like a unique profile, a unique personality, and like a color association. Like, I get that it's a very, very simplistic, but it works towards its simplicity.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Land Before Time as a movie is also much more it's dealing with grief. Yeah. He's dealing with the loss of his mom, and it's basically a whole process of him letting go and learning to be independent.
Yeah, it's true. Land Before Time is not a movie I would do on CineMasters.
No, I think it's fine. Yeah,
I do think there's probably like a better version of it that we could do, but I wouldn't do it. Like, that movie is fine the way it is. It's a kids movie. It's simplistic, but you're right. It deals with grief. It deals with independence. It deals with family and friendship. Right? And perseverance. Exactly. Like, I think there's enough in there that I wouldn't pull it apart. I also think the characters are really really well developed for a kids movie.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way.
Yeah, they're comedic, but also, I mean, Petrie and Ducky are the best.
Oh yeah.
Like, super iconic.
Ducky's the best.
Yeah, but like, so I would rather like, if somebody was like, "Oh, do you want to watch Dinosaur or Land Before Time?" I'd pick Land Before Time, and it's not even that long.
Of course.
I think Land Before Time.
Short.
Yeah, winds up being like not even 90 minutes.
I don't think. Yeah, it's a really short movie.
Yeah, and that's okay. It works.
Yeah. It's got everything there.
Yeah, and that's all I have to say about Dinosaur.
That's about all I have to say about that.
Yeah. So where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me, just go to my website, nathanieldraper.com.
Yeah, see what he's working on.
Yeah. Although, I'm actually on this new social media platform for film lovers called Letterboxd.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of this?
No.
This is my new favorite thing.
I'm not on social media at all anymore, and I don't want to be, so...
That's fair. This one is cool because basically it's an app that you log the movies that you watched.
Oh, that's dope.
And it's called Letterboxd. I'm just pulling on my profile. My profile is...
hold on, sorry. Is it Letterboxd B-O-X or B-O-X-E-D, like Letterboxd?
It's Letterboxd, no E.
Oh, B-O-X-D.
So it's B-O-X-D.
Okay, cool.
Letterboxd. And I think it's Draper Nate is my account. Yeah, or I just go by Nate Draper. But yeah, if you want to read all my random musings, I got a bit on Dinosaur that I wrote there.
Oh, so you basically get to live or leave Yelp reviews on movies.
Yeah, basically, yeah. There you go. That's it. That is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I don't include all of my pitches, but I think from now on I will be writing a little blurb on whatever movies we watch on my Letterboxd account.
Oh, that's cool.
You can see. I'm recording everything, so you can see everything that I've been watching and what my thoughts are on it. So it's a fun. If you listen to this show and you're interested, I don't know why you'd be, what my thoughts are on movies, but if you are,
because I mean, there's so many movies out there that we don't do on CineMasters. Like, so if you want to hear Nate's opinions on the good movies, the ones that we don't do, maybe that's the place to check it out.
At least the ones that I've watched recently.
Yeah. And then of course for all your filming stuff, you've got your website. Yeah. So I want to actually push. I'm doing another podcast. I don't know if it's out yet, but it should be coming out. It's called Audio Mind, because if you listen to it, you must be Audio Mind. And I know it's a terrible pun, but it's me and with my background's in music, so it's me talking about my background is in the philosophy of music, and then my partner, who I do it with, her background is in the psychology and cognition of music, and we basically go and find the weirdest genres / phenomenon that we can find in music. So if you want to check that out, it's really cool. We find the craziest genres we can find, from like Nintendo core to Extratone to rappers who pretend they're from the 1880s and then rap like they're gentlemen.
Interesting.
And yeah,
have you heard of the Mcgurk Effect?
No, what's the Mcgurk Effect?
If you're doing I'll send you a link later. If you're doing I feel like your friend probably knows something about this if she does with psychology.
Yeah.
But it's about how you can hear the exact same thing, but if you see a different visual, like it mouths it, you interpret that sound differently. Yeah.
There's something similar to that called, what's it called? I don't want to go into too much detail, but there's a famous musicologist named Michel Chion who says it doesn't matter what sound you hear. If you see visually a phenomenon that corresponds with the sound, like in terms of time, you will associate that action with the sound, even if they don't make sense.
Oh, interesting.
So that's why we get a lot of like vaudeville gags where you'll have like somebody like the Three Stooges will like poke someone's eye, and instead of hearing like you'll hear like a boom, right?
Right.
And we associate the sounds together even though they are completely disparate because of this like visual effect. So this sounds very, very similar. But yeah, and we talk about stuff like that. So if you want to hear that, it's called Audio Mind. And other than that, you can check out my band, and that's all I got going on.
Cool.
Yeah. We'll check you next time.
Yeah. Was we say anything else, or are we done?
No, I got nothing.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to CineMasters.
Yeah. Peace out.
Bye.